In today's video, we're going to begin and discuss the questline featured in the Knights of the Nine DLC in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. This DLC comes with the Game of the Year edition for the 4th installment in the Elder Scrolls franchise, and is relatively shorter compared to its counterpart of the Shivering Isles. However, this DLC is certainly still impactful, fun, and innovative in unique ways. We can begin this DLC as soon as we finish with the tutorial and escape the Imperial City prison and sewer system. As soon as the add-on has been successfully installed and loaded into Oblivion, we will begin overhearing rumors and conversations regarding an attack at the chapel in Anvil. This will prompt a notification about discussing it as a topic with the NPCs. We asked around for rumors, hoping to hear some more information. Eventually, we landed on someone who would finally discuss it.
Can I help you?
We asked him about rumors.
There's been some terrible trouble at the chapel in Anvil. All of Dibella's priests and priestesses murdered.
Our curiosity piqued, we decide to head to the city of Anvil to see it for ourselves. We fast travel over and wander in the direction of the chapel. Eventually, we get there and a member of the city guard, who seems to be guarding the entrance inside, walks up to us.
I wouldn't go in there unless you have a strong stomach. We have orders to leave everything just the way it was until the investigation into the chapel attack is finished.
We ask him about the Anvil chapel attack.
It's baffling. How anyone could have gotten in and out of there without being seen by our patrols is beyond me. Maybe that prophet is right. Some kind of unholy doom visited upon us.
We inquire about this prophet.
He preaches most of the day across the street from the chapel. I used to think he was crazy, but now he seems to be making some kind of sense. I hope that doesn't mean I'm going crazy now.
Exiting the conversation, the watchman points us in the direction of the prophet. For now, he's sleeping in his bedroll, so we wait until daytime to see what he gets up to.
The blood tide rises. The gate, once open, cares not who passeth through. Our ancient enemy has returned from the deeps of time to exact his revenge upon the gods.
It seems as though he spends most of his time preaching and yelling at the townspeople, presumably about the end times. We go up to him and speak.
Return? Oh my! To what do I owe this honor? I am but a humble prophet. What business do you have with me?
We ask him about the Anvil chapel attack.
This is only the beginning. Umaril has returned as foretold by Pelinal Whitestrake in his dying breath.
We ask him who Umaril is.
Umaril the Unfeathered, the sorcerer king of the Aelids, who ruled over this land for long ages before the rise of men. He was cast down by Pelinal Whitestrake, but Umaril's spirit survived, and now he has returned to seek vengeance upon the gods.
Then we inquire about Pelinal Whitestrake.
Does no one remember the old tales? Saint Pelinal, the divine crusader of legend, Alicia's companion when she overthrew the rule of the Aelids 3,000 years ago. Pelinal, with the aid of the gods, fought the Aelid sorcerer King Umaril and slew him. But Umaril's spirit survived, and he has now returned.
We ask him who attacked the chapel.
Do you understand nothing? The blood speaks. I can read the ancient runes if you cannot. As uibala, umarale el nada rakuva. In the Aeliad tongue, by the eternal power of Umaril, the mortal gods shall be cast down. a curse upon Umaril's ancient foes, and a threat.
We ask how Umaril can be stopped.
Alas, Umaril cannot be stopped. Not without the aid of the gods, not without the Crusaders' relics. Without a champion, the gods are powerless to act. But who among us is worthy to wield the divine Crusaders' weaponry?
We tell him we'll look for the relics.
You would quest for the holy panoply of Pelinal Whitestrake? The legendary relics that have been sought by mighty warriors throughout the ages? Are you a worthy knight?
We can pick from a variety of answers. We can tell him we are a worthy knight, or we can tell him we're the Fighter's Guildmaster, the Archmage, that we serve Sithis, or that we have no claim to fame. We decide to simply go with we're a worthy knight.
And I'm sure you will have no trouble finding the relics on your own. You clearly need no aid from man or God. Why do you come to me for aid, worthy knight?
He probably didn't like our last answer, so we just ask about the Crusaders' relics.
The weapons and armor of Pelinal Whitestrake, Alicia's comrade, granted to him by the 8 divines. He went alone into the White Gold Tower, challenged the Ayleid sorcerer King Umaril to single combat, and slew him. Alas, Umaril was not truly slain, but only cast beyond the bounds of Nirn. And now he has returned to wreak his vengeance upon the gods, as was prophesied by Pelinal himself with his dying breath. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril. But alas for Tamriel, the Crusaders' relics have been lost for many an age. Who now can succeed in the quest for the relics, where the greatest knights of legend all fail?
We then ask him about the 8 and 1.
Once there were 8 divines. Then Tiber Septim became Talos, and the 8 became 9. I followed the old way of honoring the 8 while also giving due to Talos, the one who ascended.
We get further clarification on Umaril.
He is the enemy of all who walk free on Tamriel today, a survivor of the ancient race of Ayleid slave masters who once ruled Cyrodiil. He was struck down by Pelinal, but by his art, Umaril had bound himself to the realm of his mistress, the Daedra Lord Meridia. So he was not slain, but simply cast adrift upon the waters of Oblivion. Now he has returned to seek vengeance upon the gods who helped bring about his downfall so many ages ago.
We re-inquire about the quest for the relics.
Are you a worthy knight?
Then we change our answer to no, we serve Sithis.
Indeed. And yet you would seek the holy relics. The gods will find you an interesting plaything, I have no doubt.
We ask how we can find the relics.
The gods grant insight to those they deem worthy. Why and how they act is not predictable. What I can tell you is that, traditionally, knights who wish to quest for the relics would walk the pilgrim's way. Travel to the way shrines of the 9 divines. Pray to each of the gods in turn, and ask their favor upon your quest. If the gods deem you worthy, you will be granted a sign. Go forth with the 9's blessings.
We inquire about the pilgrimage.
For those who would repent their past deeds, walking the pilgrim's way is a traditional way to cleanse yourself before the gods. Follow the map I gave you. Visit the way shrines of the Nine. Pray and wait for a sign.
We ask about Umaril one more time.
He was defeated but not destroyed by Pelinal the Crusader. Now he has returned to seek vengeance against the gods. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril.
We exit the conversation with the prophet. We've taken it upon ourselves to help out the cause and find the supposed holy relics of Pelinal Whitestrake in order to stop the Ayleid king, Umaril. Our first step in looking for them is to complete something called the pilgrimage. Before we do, we decide to look inside of the chapel to see just how bad things are. Poking our heads in, we're instantly met with the sight of pools of blood. We turn our heads and see even more gruesome sights. Bodies lay massacred in their own entrails, the chapel is completely turned over, and fires are still burning brightly. In the center of the chapel, a woman lays dead, splayed out atop the altar, and is surrounded by foreign words written out in blood. These words are likely the same as the prophet told us prior: by the eternal power of Umaril, the mortal gods shall be cast down. Realizing just how bad the situation is, we decide to leave the chapel and head on our pilgrimage at once. The prophet gave us a map of the way shrines detailing the so-called Pilgrim's Way. This map displays a location for 9 different way shrines, each dedicated to one of the 9 divines. Underneath it, there's a message reading, "If you wish to repent of your sins and rededicate your life to the gods, pray at the way shrines of the 9. May the 9 hear your prayers and look upon you with tender loving kindness." Embarking on the pilgrimage has us praying at each of the way shrines. Only then are we potentially deemed to be a worthy knight. We decide to follow the map and start with the way shrine of Arche, and from there, we'll make our way clockwise around Cyrodiil for the rest. This first way shrine wasn't so difficult to locate. There are 3 different Arche way shrines, and the one we visited was north of Anvil and east of Lord Drad's estate. Walking up to the way shrines and interacting with them, we receive a message saying, "Continue your penance to earn the gods' forgiveness." Shortly after, we receive a quest update that says we have successfully prayed at the way shrine of Arche. These updates will help keep us on track as well as notified on which ones we have actually prayed at, as there are no quest markers for this pilgrimage. On the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, they have multiple routes listed for visiting each of the 9 way shrines, some of which are a lot more efficient and a lot less time consuming than the suggested pathway by the prophet. If you have completed the pilgrimage of the 9 divines already and received the Pilgrim's Grace Greater Power, you supposedly only need to activate one way shrine in order to advance to the next stage. Also, if your character hasn't received any infamy points and has already visited some of the way shrines, they also supposedly only need to visit the ones they haven't already been to. For the rest of the way shrines, a thick layer of fog rolled over the lands of Cyrodiil and actually made it incredibly difficult to find them. Even though we have the locations laid out on a map, they are relatively smaller structures and can easily be missed in the wilds. The next way shrine we visit is that of Mara's. Mara has 3 different way shrines as well, and the one we prayed at was west of Skingrad and northwest of Cursed Mind. Interacting with the way shrine shares the same outcome as the one before it, saying we should continue our pilgrimage, followed by a quest update confirming our prayers. The third way shrine we visit is Debella's. Debella has 3 way shrines as well, and the one we visited was south of Coral and northeast of Fort Carmalla. The fourth way shrine we visited was Akatosh's. Akatosh has 4 way shrines scattered around Cyrodiil, and the one we went to was south of Bruma on the Orange Road. The 5th way shrine we visited was Julianos's. Julianos also has 4 way shrines dedicated to them, and the one we visited was southeast of the Imperial City on the Yellow Road southwest of Fort Sejanus. The 6th way shrine we went to was Kinnerith's. Kinnerith has 3 way shrines, and the one we prayed at was well northeast of Breville and east of Macamente. The 7th way shrine we visited was Stendar's. Stendar has 3 way shrines, and the one we went to was north of Leowyn on the Green Road, southeast of Sheogorath's shrine. The 8th way shrine we visited was Zenithar's. Zenithar has 3 way shrines, and the one we prayed at was north of Breville and directly north of Flooded Mine. The 9th and final way shrine we visited was Talos's. Talos has 3 way shrines dedicated to him, and the one we prayed at was north of Breville and northwest of Fort Variella. Arriving at the way shrine and interacting with it, we received a different message. Rejoice! You've completed the pilgrimage of the 9 way shrines, and your sins have been washed clean. We receive a quest update that we should wait and pray for a sign. That sign, however, comes quickly.
Hail, knight! You seek my relics with a worthy heart.
We're brought to a loading screen and teleported somewhere unfamiliar.
Your prayers have woken me from my endless dream. Or perhaps you have entered my dream, and I still sleep. I think others have sometimes spoken to me. Others like you, but my memory is doubtful. Perhaps the others came after you. Your need must be great for the gods to allow us to speak. Has Umaril the Accursed found a way back? The foulest of a foul race. 1,000 curses upon his unholy name. I thought I'd won, but I should have known. The slave masters are a cunning breed. Umaril found a way to cheat death as I could not. If you would seek for my relics, I know little that can help you. All that has passed since my death is like mist that my mind cannot take hold of. My friends built a shrine upon the site of my death, where the elves tormented me in a final act of revenge. I can show you where it once stood. Perhaps it is there still. Fare thee well, Sir Knight. May the gods grant you to destroy Umaril utterly, as I pray.
We're brought back to Cyrodiil and have been tasked with finding Pelennor Whitestrake's lost shrine, officially concluding with the quest, Pilgrimage. We make haste for the lost shrine. The one benefit of following the Pilgrim's Way and ending at the Shrine of Talos is that our next destination is a short distance away. The lost shrine of Pelennor Whitestrake has succumbed to weathering in time and has ultimately submerged beneath the upper Niben. We follow our compass and dive underwater, revealing the long-forgotten ruins. We approach the door and enter inside of Vanua. Vanua is an Ayleid ruin and has a total of 3 zones. The first one, simply titled Vanua, consists of 3 significantly larger rooms all connected by several pathways. Down here, we'll come across 11 undead enemies, and one of them will end up being a boss level. We'll eventually make our way to a door leading to the next zone titled the Shrine of the Crusader. The Shrine of the Crusader is a little more complex than the first zone. This zone contains 10 undead enemies, and one of them will also be a boss level. Shortly into our trek through this zone, and in the biggest room, we'll come across the skeletal remains of someone by the name of Sir Amiel. Beside the skeleton is a steel longsword as well as a Knights of the Nine shield. Looking into Sir Amiel's inventory, we get a new quest added on called Priory of the Nine. The skeleton has a key, a journal, and a ring all belonging to this Sir Amiel. After looting all of the items, we get a quest update for the Priory of the Nine saying that after reading his journal, we learn of the holy order called the Knights of the Nine, and that their base is located in the West Weald, called the Priory of the Nine. Before we can make our way over to it and discover its secrets, we need to finish what we came here for, discovering the Shrine of Pelennor Whitestrake. Interestingly, the shrine is right above us on an upper level that we can't get to just quite yet. We need to fight our way through some more undead before we arrive at the third zone titled the Lost Catacombs. The Lost Catacombs is the smallest zone and contains only 6 undead, as well as consists of small pathways that ultimately lead back to the second zone. Once we go through the doorway back to the Shrine of the Crusader, we need only to defeat 1 more undead before we can lay eyes on the shrine. The shrine contains the helm of the Crusader, the very same that Pelennor Whitestrake donned all those years ago. It's surrounded by candles and has a jewelry box next to it. Taking the helm, we receive a quest update that we have recovered the first piece of the Crusader's relics. Following this is an update to the Priory of the Nine quest that tells us it's time to head to the headquarters for the Knights of the Nine in the West Weald, thus ending the quest, the Shrine of the Crusader. We can now leave the Ayleid ruin of Vanua. There are a few enemies we need to fight on the way out, but fairly soon we take a hidden passageway that leads us back out the way we came. Once we find a safe area to travel from, we take a look at our map. Our closest discovered location to the Priory of the Nine is the Ayleid ruin of Cylorn. We fast travel over, and from there, we head towards the secret base. Shortly into our ride with Shadowmere, we come across the Priory. It looks similar to Wenden Priory in Coral in terms of its layouts and aesthetic. The only difference is that these grounds have long been abandoned and forgotten. The chapel is empty and the lodge is desolate. Wandering around inside, the compass doesn't point us to any objective. We remember that we picked up Sir Amiel's journal in Vanua, which is ultimately what led us here, so maybe it's now time to read it and see what the next steps are. Pulling out the journal, it reads, "This journal is a record of failure. My failure. In the immediate sense, this is no doubt obvious. If you are reading this, you are probably standing over my body, slain in the depths of the Shrine of the Crusader. Perhaps the gods granted me the gift of at least glimpsing the Holy Helm before I died, undeserving though I am. I must believe that you are indeed a holy knight, following in my footsteps in quest of the Crusader's relics. It is to you, Sir Knight of my hopes, that I direct these words. May the account of my failures help you avoid my fate. Know that my failures encompass far more than my own death, which is of little account at the end of a long life. The high ideals of the Knights of the Nine, of service to the gods rather than men, of dedication to a higher purpose, these are my failures, as I shall record here. As I write this, the scratching of my pen, the only sound in the empty priory, I am preparing to embark on my last quest for the helm of the Crusader. I know that my chance of success is small. I am too old for such a task. This quest should have been taken up by the next generation of Knights of the Nine, while Sir Caius and Sir Beric and the rest of us stayed behind and spun tales of our days of glory. Alas, there is no next generation. Sir Beric is my embittered enemy, the rest of my old companions are all dead, there is only me, the last stubborn knight of a failed order. For many years, I blamed Sir Beric for the dissolution of the Order, but in my old age, I have finally come to realize my own part in those tragic events. I now believe that the seeds of our destruction were sown early, although the fruit did not ripen until late. Even in the first heady days, questing for the cuirass with Sir Caius and Sir Torulf, I set the pattern of personal glory. The cuirass was mine, and although it resided in the priory, I wore it into battle and accepted the acclaim of my fellows and the people for its recovery, and so it went. The sword and greaves, recovered by Sir Beric, became his personal arms, and the gauntlets to Sir Casimir. Why not? Should the holy weapons lie idle while there was evil to be vanquished? And who more fitting to carry them than the knight who had proved himself worthy by their recovery? So we told ourselves. So I told myself. But all that flowed from this. When Sir Beric wanted to take his relics with him to the war, who was I to forbid him? I, who had jealously considered the cuirass my own and none other's? Sir Beric was wrong, but I was wrong first, and the blame for the dispute over the relics falls first on me, the leader and founder of the knights, who should have set a higher example, but was instead first to claim a relic for my own. Sir Barrick's later actions I will leave for others to judge, but let it be known that I do not blame him for the dissolution of the knights. If he would speak to me, I would tell him so myself. He and I are now all that are left of the original knights. The others are all dead, and I have dedicated myself to recovering their bodies and interring them in the Priory Undercroft, as is fitting for such holy warriors. Alas that they did not have the leader that they deserved. Now it is time for me to depart on my quest for the helm. If you would follow in my footsteps, Sir Knight, know that the Priory basement, at least, will remain inviolate. I have sealed the stairs, and only my ring will now open it. I have sealed the stairs, and only my ring will now open it. My brother knights will sleep in peace, in company with the cuirass, the only relic that remains in the Order's keeping. I say that, although the Order is officially dissolved, hoping and believing that the Knights of the Nine will one day be reborn. Perhaps you are the one to restore the Order. If so, go to the Priory in the West Weald. Use my ring to enter the vaults beneath the Priory house. There, you will find the cuirass and claim it for your own, if you are a true knight. May the Nine guard and guide you. Farewell. Sir Amiel, Priory of the Nine, the West Weald, County Skingrad, year 153 of the Septim Era. We close the journal and head back to the main level where we saw strange materials on the flooring. Walking over and interacting with the Knights of the Nine symbol, we receive a notification saying, Sir Amiel's ring fits perfectly into the diamond-shaped opening in the floor. Instantly, the insignia collapses down, revealing a set of stairs leading to some kind of basement. We go through the door and see that we're now in the armory/training area. It too has been long abandoned, but it gives us a flare of hope that one day this place can be built back up to what it once was. We wander to the back of the training area and go through another door to the Priory Undercroft. Descending some stairs, we see a room that has the same layout as a crypt or mausoleum, but this one houses more Knights of the Nine emblems. All the way in the back, we can see an armor rack that's donning what must be the cuirass of Pelennor Whitestrake. We make our way over to it.
By the strength and guidance of the Nine, who comes before us upon this sacred ground, seeking the cuirass of the Divine Crusader? Step forward, adventurer, and face us each in honorable combat. For the vows we fail to revere in life, we shall uphold in death. No unworthy soul shall lay hands upon this sacred artifact without the leave of the Knights of the Nine.
Turning around, we see 7 more ghosts have appeared around the room, and one even comes charging in at us. Sir Gregory wields a longsword and a shield. He doesn't hit very hard, and we defeat him in a timely manner.
Sir Gregory, you are defeated. Sir Casimir, step forward.
Sir Casimir comes in swinging next. He too wields a longsword and a shield. He's also defeated in no time.
Impressive. You have bested Sir Casimir. Now face Sir Ralvis.
Sir Ralvis comes at us next. The ghost also wields a longsword but no shield, rendering his defensive skills less than optimal. We charge Goldbrand and strike him down.
Sir Ralvis, you have fallen. Step back and let the challenge continue. Sir Henrik, come forward and prove yourself.
Sir Henrik comes running at us with a 2-handed claymore. He does the most damage to us, albeit not that much, and the trade-off is we defeat him the quickest.
You have overcome half of us, and yet you remain standing. Perhaps Sir Caius shall test your true mettle.
Sir Caius is up next. Caius goes back to using a longsword and a shield, similar to the first 2 fights. We time our blocks properly and hit him with heavy attacks until the fight is over.
Yeah. You show a fury of faith that I have not seen in centuries. But now you face Sir Junkin.
Sir Junkin charges in with a longsword and no shield. We can tell that the fights are getting slightly harder from here, which is good to see, but it's still not enough to have us worrying for our character.
Ha! You have lost, Sir Junkin. Sir Torolf, show the challenger the ferocity of the North.
Sir Torolf is the second last ghost we must face. He really doesn't put up that great of a fight, and we best him quickly.
You have stood against the Knights of the Nine and lived. However, the final test is upon you. Ready yourself, Sir Knight, and face me!
Last up is Sir Amiel himself. He wields a two-handed claymore and charges at us. We bring the fight to the center and in 3 swift attacks, successfully best all of the spirits in the Priory of the Nine. All of the knights are bowing before us, and Sir Amiel gets up.
Sir Knight, in 300 years, none have stood against us and lived. Step forward and claim what is yours by right. May your faith be true.
The magical force guarding the cuirass goes away, and we get a quest update. We wander over to the armor rack and pick up the cuirass of the Crusader. With that, thus concludes the first part of the quest, Priory of the Nine. We look in our inventory for the Crusader's relics. The cuirass of the Crusader has an armor rating of 17 and fortifies restoration for 6 points and resists normal weapons for 15%, as well as fortifies health for 27 points. The helm of the Crusader has an armor rating of 6 points and has the enchantments of fortify restoration for 6 points and personality for 25 points. The armor rating matches that of our current armor set, so we decide to don the Crusader set for this quest. The ghosts are now docile and can actually be interacted with. A few of them give us quests and hints as to where we need to go for the relics, so we decide to speak with the ones who offer simpler dialogue, starting with Sir Amiel.
By the Nine, I've not seen such strength. Could you be... No, you cannot. You are simply a noble knight.
We ask him about the helm of the Crusader.
You completed the quest that I could not. I'm glad that my death at least served to lead you here, as I had hoped.
We ask him about the Knights of the Nine.
The original Order of the Nine was founded with the intention of safekeeping the Crusaders' relics. In life, we failed at this task. In death, we seek to preserve what little we accomplished while we wait for one to come and finish what we began.
Finally, we ask about Sir Beric.
One of the mightiest knights of my day. It was a great boost to the Order's prestige when he joined. Unfortunately, he and I did not see eye to eye on certain matters. He left the Order during the War of the Red Diamond and never returned.
We move on to Sir Caius.
I am at your service, Commander.
We ask him about the Knights of the Nine.
In death, we continued the work that escaped us in life. The relics must still be guarded, for someday they shall be needed once more.
We ask him about Sir Beric.
Alas, my old comrade is not among us here. We do not know why his spirit did not join us here to guard our last relic. We were estranged in life, but I had hoped that in death we could be reconciled. For my part, I now know that I am largely to blame for the ruin of the old order. Sir Amiel takes too much upon himself. I will say no more.
We then speak with Sir Torolf.
Greetings, Sir Knight.
We ask him about the Knights of the Nine.
Complacency proved to be our greatest enemy. The service of the Nine requires eternal vigilance.
We move on to Sir Gregory.
How may I serve you, Commander?
We ask him about the Knights of the Nine.
In matters of faith, one cannot be bogged down in the affairs of this world. Learn from us. Cast aside your treasures and serve the Nine.
Now we can speak with the remaining 4 ghosts who will offer us some information regarding the remaining holy relics. We go to speak with Sir Juncan first.
I wish to see you succeed where I failed. I was on the path to the boots of the Crusader, but died before I reached them. Do you wish to learn what little I know?
We ask him to tell us more.
I cannot tell you exactly how to find the boots, for that will be up to Kinnereth. I can tell you to seek out her priests, though. West of the Imperial City, on the edge of the Great Forest, is a shrine. You will find them there, and they will tell you what you need to know.
We ask about the boots of the Crusader.
The boots are safeguarded by Kinnereth herself. You must be tested and prove yourself worthy to acquire them.
And we ask him about the Knights of the Nine.
The wars of men undermine the service of the Nine. Do not follow in our mistakes.
We make this quest our current one and leave the Priory lodging. From here, we take a look at our map and see that the quest area is west of the Imperial City, out in the Great Forest. We fast travel over to our nearest discovered location of Walnut Inn and ride Shadowmere over to the Compass Arrow. We come across a shrine and some worshippers, although this one isn't Daedric in nature, which is what we're used to. It's actually a shrine dedicated to the divine Kinnereth. We walk over to the woman whom we're being directed to and speak with her.
What brings you to the altar of Kinnereth, my child?
We ask about the altar.
You have been in the chapel of Kinnereth from the moment you stepped outdoors. Have you not felt her presence? We gather here to pay tribute to all of the blessings she bestows upon us.
We ask about boots of the Crusader.
You would seek the holy relic Kinnereth has bestowed upon the world. Then you must prove yourself worthy. Kinnereth's creations guard her relic, and you must pass the test before you may be granted the boots.
We ask about this so-called test.
I cannot say what it will be, for I do not know. Kinnereth herself will decide in what manner you shall be tested. All I can do is direct you to the Grove of Trials and remind you to heed Kinnereth's teachings. Fear and respect nature and all her creations.
We ask where the grove is.
Not far from here to the west, nestled within the great forest, it is a place many would overlook. I warn you that it is unwise to take anyone with you. You should go there alone.
We ask what she means by fearing and respecting nature.
Indeed. Nature itself is Kinnereth's domain. All its creatures are her wards. You would do well to remember this when it comes time for your test.
We agree to take the test.
Then proceed directly to the grove, as your test has begun. Kinnereth may choose to guard you along the way. That is up to her. Good luck.
Avita Vesnia is making us go through the Grove of Trials in order to please the goddess Kinnereth. Only then might the boots of the Crusader be presented to us. We take a look at our map and see the grove is relatively close. We ride Shadowmere over and arrive in a little inlet that's surrounded by trees and rocks. We get a quest update and out of nowhere, a gigantic brown bear wanders over to us. Its nameplate is the Forest Guardian, and killing it is likely our test, or so we thought. The bear has incredible amounts of health and hits for pretty decent damage. Our first attempt saw Shadowmere rushing over to help us with the battle. Avita told us to come alone, so we assumed that Shadowmere ruined it for us, as we failed the quest. We rode back over to Avita and asked her if we could try again.
Welcome again to the altar of Kinnereth.
We asked about the test of Kinnereth.
I see it on your face. You have failed the test. In her infinite grace and wisdom, Kinnereth will have mercy on you and allow you to resubmit to her test. Return to the grove and try once more.
This time, we left Shadowmere far away from the shrine and truly came alone. The Forest Guardian spawned in, and we began attacking it. We strangely failed the quest again, which had me stumped, as this time it was us who did something wrong. Reloading our save and trying again, we remembered what Avita told us, that we should take care in remembering to respect all nature. This time, we cast Serene Beauty on the Forest Guardian, calming it almost completely. Enough time passed and we received a quest update that, because we didn't fight back, a cave has been revealed. The Forest Guardian leaves us, seemingly uninterested, and we enter inside of Kinnereth's grotto. We make our way down and see the boots resting on an altar. Beside the boots are two Spriggans simply standing there and watching us. They aren't hostile and leave us alone. We pick up the boots of the Crusader and get multiple quest updates. We leave the grotto, and thus ends the quest, Nature's Fury. Before we return back to the Priory to hear about the next relic's whereabouts, we choose to check in on an unreported event that took place in Breville. Fast traveling over there and entering inside of the chapel, we see that this sacred place has also been desecrated and destroyed, as well as its peoples massacred. The same sort of message is written around the central altar, with a body spread out in the center of it. One NPC was left alive, and she had perhaps the worst timing ever.
I'm sorry to impose upon you like this, but I'm in need of assistance, and I don't know what to do. My husband, Alaron, is missing.
We didn't ask around town about it, but no one seemed to make a big deal about this mass murder and chapel destruction. We left Breville and fast traveled over to the Priory. Entering inside, we're met with a familiar face.
We meet again. I am here to join your order, having received a divine vision from Kinnereth herself. I have been shown that to protect all Kinnereth's creations, I must take up your cause and be willing to lay down my life for you. So here I am. I have no doubt that our good works will be talked of in the eras to come.
We accept her offer to join the Knights of the Nine.
Thank you. I shall serve the order to the best of my ability. I must change into something that suits a knight. Please excuse me.
Avita makes for the very first addition to the Knights of the Nine, which is fantastic to see our ranks grow. We go down to the forge and armory and see Avita has fully changed into her set of armor. Going back up to the ground floor, we also notice that the entire lodge has been cleaned up and everything is put back into working order. Multiple beds are set up, desks are organized, and the floors, ceilings, and walls are dusted and cleaned. We go back down to the Undercroft and speak with the ghost of Sir Ralvis next.
You have my tribute, Sir Knight. In 300 years, none have passed the gauntlet. In 300 years, we have never known hope. But for the first time, it seems that someone may succeed where we have failed. I see in you the chance to redeem our souls and restore the order. And now, I must ask you to press forward where I could not. I must ask you to face the challenge of Zenithar.
We ask how he failed.
I was arrogant and foolhardy. I sought personal glory. I placed my own will and my own lust for fame over the will of the Nine. In facing the challenge of Zenithar, I failed. I tried dozens, no, hundreds of times to reach the mace. I fell each time, and each time I awoke in the chapel, I leapt again. I tried to enlist the help of the other knights, but none would come to my aid. The inscription says to walk in the faith, but even now, I do not know what this means.
We ask what we must do.
Below the chapel of Zenithar in Leowyn, there is a shrine to the great craftsman, Saint Calidus. Those seeking the mace must pray before the shrine. When you bow, you will receive a vision. Or perhaps not, it is unclear. The priest saw that my body never moved, but it felt so real. You will see the mace separated from you by a great chasm. The chasm represents your doubt. Your faith must be your guide across it.
We question that our faith will guide us.
This is what I know. As I said, my faith was weak. I did not understand the test, and I fell from the platform each time I tried to cross. I have told you all that I know. All that is left is for you to prove yourself more worthy than I. If you seek the mace, travel to Leowin's chapel, kneel at the shrine in the Undercroft, and let your faith in the Nine be the salvation of us all.
We ask him about Zenithar.
Of the original divines, Zenithar is thought to be the most in touch with the mortal realm. Some legends say that Zenithar has close ties to Kinnereth, an idea that is supported by the manner in which the two gods' realms interact. Craftsmen devoted to Zenithar are able to create and profit from the materials provided by Kinnereth's natural world. The two work in harmony, the natural world providing for the craftsman. One cannot revere Zenithar without acknowledging the power of Kinnereth.
We ask about Zenithar's mace.
Legends say that when Pelinal Whitestrake was slain by the Aelids, a messenger carried the mace to the human settlement of Leowin as a message. Centuries later, the master craftsman Saint Calidus built the Chapel of Zenithar in Leowin as a tribute to the legend. When Saint Calidus was laid to rest, those who prayed to Zenithar at his tomb began to receive visions of the mace of the Crusader.
Finally, we ask about the Knights of the Nine.
Our greed for the relics overshadowed our faith in the Nine. I can only hope that you are stronger than we were.
Exiting the conversation, we take a look at the boots of the Crusader. They have an armor rating of 6 and the enchantment of Fortify Restoration for 6 points. We equip them, change our current quest, and leave the lodge. We fast travel over to the city of Leowin and make our way for the chapel. We enter inside and are approached by a stranger.
Hey, it's you. I've heard of you. You're the one restoring the Knights of the Nine, aren't you?
We tell him yes we are.
My name is Kennardus O'Holan. Like you, I am a servant of the Nine, specifically of Zenithar. I came here seeking his mace. However, I could not pass the test. I'm no crusader, but that doesn't mean that I cannot serve Zenithar. In light of recent attacks, I've signed on to protect the chapel. I'm fair with a blade, and by my honor, I'll serve the Nine in any way I can.
Caridus O'Hillen's responses to the Mace of Zenithar and the Divine of Zenithar are the exact same as Ralvis's, so we skip past those.
So far, things have been quiet. After the horror in Anvil, the priests here are more than a bit nervous.
We exit the conversation with Caridus and look around the chapel. There are a whole bunch of civilians in here, including the Count himself. We make our way down the stairs and descend to the chapel undercroft. Here, we face off against some sanctified ancient specters. There are approximately 5 of them that we need to defeat. Once all of them are taken care of, we follow our compass, which leads us over to the tomb of Saint Calidus. We interact with it. We get a quest update and are now in some alternate dimension. We look ahead and the mace is on another platform separated by a black void. There is a glowing pathway that seemingly leads us right to it. We step onto the pathway and it seems to keep us from falling below. We decide to test what would happen should we fall down. Jumping, we're teleported back to the tomb of Saint Calidus unharmed. We can interact with the tomb again and get transported back to the realm with the mace. We walk along the pathway and pick it up. We receive several quest updates and are once again teleported back to the chapel undercroft. We ascend the stairs, ready to leave, when all of a sudden, chaos ensues. The citizens originally praying at the altars kick into a fight or flight mode, and we see the likes of enemies which we haven't come across before. They are completely golden, clad in some form of armor, and their nameplates call them Aurorans. These must be the forces that are destroying the other chapels in Cyrodiil, and therefore they're likely Umaril's army. Everyone jumps into battle and helps to defeat the Aurorans. Even the Count himself is getting some hits in. The Aurorans are only aggroed onto us, and because of this, they actually do some pretty decent damage. They also have pretty good amounts of health, making this a worthy fight. It gets to the point where the battle is so chaotic due to the citizens running around and trying to help out that we have to play very passively and wait for the right opportunity, as we kept accidentally hitting them. One by one, we would defeat the enemies until we struck down the last Auroran standing. We received a quest update that we successfully saved this chapel from desecration.
I can't believe it. We survived! By the grace of the Nine, we survived! In no small part to you, Sir Knight. By your will and the will of the Nine, the Chapel of Zenithar is held against this blasphemer. Sir, I pledge my sword. I wish to join you in your quest to restore the Knights of the Nine and defeat this Umaril.
We accept and welcome him to the Order.
I can only hope to match your bravery and valor. I am honored to serve by your side. Allow me to fetch more suitable equipment. I shall return shortly.
With that, another knight has joined our ranks, slowly growing our order. We take a look at one of the Auroran's inventory and see that they carry a foreign weapon called a crude alien battle axe. Interestingly, they also have Daedra hearts, meaning they're Daedric in nature, which makes sense considering Meridia is housing Umaril's spirit in Oblivion. We look around and see that there were no casualties at all in this fight with regards to the civilians. We leave the chapel, and with that, thus ends the quest, The Path of the Righteous.